This content is brought to you by Link2, which makes private equity investment easy. Link2 is a great platform that allows you to get equity in companies before they go public, before they do an IPO. Within their portfolio includes crypto companies, AI companies, and fintech companies. Some of the crypto companies you may recognize include Circle, Ripple, Chainalysis, Ledger, Dapper Labs, and many more. If you'd like to learn more about Link2, please visit the link in the description. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Crypto Water Cooler series, part of the Thinking Crypto podcast. With me today is David from the Next Block YouTube channel. He's my new co-host. David, I would love for you to introduce yourself so folks can learn about you.
Yeah, so obviously my name is David. I co-host The Next Block. It's actually a YouTube channel that I started with a friend in the space when I was just first diving into crypto. We were just kind of, trying to learn more about it. And, everybody was excited in the last bull market. So I feel like everybody was creating something. And so, yeah, we do a weekly podcast where we interview people in the space. We just talk, bounce ideas off each other, crypto stuff that's going on. My background's from finance. So I was actually in the mortgage industry for about, 6 years, banking mortgage for about 8 total. It's fun. It was fun. I like the centralized world, but I really do enjoy the DeFi and the decentralized world and the Web3 kind of, spin to everything. And it's been a lot of fun the past 3 years being in the space. Our channel, The Next Block, it's been live for about 2 years. So obviously you've been a guest on there before. Yeah. And we definitely appreciate that. We love having your insights. But no, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Just, love learning about crypto and just, the future that we're going to see for the financial industry.
Yeah, for sure. And you guys have a great show. Like you said, I've been on there and you cover a lot of what's going on in the crypto market. You interview folks. So everybody check out the Next Block YouTube channel, and links will be in the description. Go check out David's show and much more. And David, man, I don't know about you, man. I don't want to look at the prices this morning, but I know it's it's
Coinbase is going to send you the alert anyway, so you're going to have to see some type of notification about what the price is doing. It's not looking great, that's for sure. It's funny. I created a short not too long ago for our channel, just talking about the month of September. Right, it is not a historically great month for price action, and so right now we're obviously down to start the month, but you look at the last 6-7 years. It's not been great. So, and Bitcoin is seeming to be hanging on by a thread right now, as far as support. So, what are you seeing? What's your thoughts right now?
Yeah, to your point, I've been looking at the same data points that September's have historically not been great. And I'm also, even though I would consider myself seasoned being in the crypto industry, I'm still a human being, as the emotions still hit, excuse me, when you see the price down in red. So I'm also trying to remind myself, stay calm, calm, put the emotions to the side. You've been through this how many times already? It's an opportunity to dollar cost average. And, that's not financial advice. Everybody has to do their own research, do what's, right for you financially. But certainly I've been buying the dips here and there, small amounts. And I am I'm hopeful that, in Q4, we start seeing some rally upwards as we head into next year for the Bitcoin halving.
Yeah. And it's funny, I even have pulled up, the Bitcoin quarterly returns, right? Q3 is also one of the worst, quarters for Bitcoin. Really, a lot of things, you could even look at stocks and certain things, it's not been the great, but obviously Bitcoin and crypto, if Bitcoin's going down, alts are going to get hammered even more. We know that. And so, Q4 though is kind of where the money can be printed, right? And so that's where even though September is a bad month, historically for Bitcoin and maybe even other altcoins that, some of your viewers are starting to dollar cost average into, it could be great opportunities if you're really good at charting or just, finding those entry points at finding some solid entry points. And then, November, October, as everybody calls it, right after, leading into, November and December, sell, take some profit, and then, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, for sure. And I've been trying to tell people about swing trading. Yes, I have my long-term hold bags, but you can make some really nice profits swing trading. And let's say the market doesn't go in the direction that you're expecting it to.
Yeah,
you can just add that to your long-term hold bag, right? So it's kind of win-win. Obviously, you want to be smart. You don't put your life savings, don't put your rent or mortgage payment into it, right? You got to be smart. This may be you skipping a couple of times going out to eat, and you use that money towards, crypto, whatever it is, or stocks. So I've learned how to swing trade and make some money, that way, and you can use the volatility to your advantage. And the other thing, look, I mean, it's not just crypto, but stock market's taking a little bit of a beating right now with the macro factors, Fed, inflation, interest rates. Hopefully, towards the end of the year, they pause, like truly pause. Right. And then next year they start cutting and quantitative easing, and we're back into bull market phases.
Yeah. And but even like thinking about that, when historically, when the Fed pauses and you see that, that's actually when the recessions and the, kind of the worst of it something's probably breaking for the, and it seems like Jerome Powell has just been on a tear of like, I'm going to continue raising rates until it's broken. And then, and only then is when I'm going to actually, maybe admit I pushed too far, hike too much, and then reverse. But I agree. And that's where I like, looking at the charts for Bitcoin and Ethereum, both of them, like I said earlier, are sitting on support, and I could easily see a Bitcoin coming down back to 20K. And then, even Ethereum coming down to like 1,500 before we really see, a big move. But at the same time, it's crypto, right? We could, we've saw this before on this kind of, Bitcoin's run up. We saw it like fall back down, look like it's about to break. And then all of a sudden you get that green God candle, and then everybody's back to high-fiving. So, it truly is kind of dependent upon the macro factors of like, when are we going to see that pause in rates? When are we going to see the QE enter back in? You got the Bitcoin halving coming up next year. Like there's, presidential election in the United States. There's so many things I feel like over the next 6 to 12 months that are going to, will cause big swings. So that's where, to your point, being a swing trader, I think it can be very beneficial if how to watch the chart and find those good entry points. Don't be greedy. If you're up, 15, 20%, start taking some profit, things like that. Because just like that, it can be gone. I had a bag of Pepe, and it ran really high. I mean, really high. I took some profit, definitely should have took more. And that would be my one, word of advice to anybody who's buying any investment is don't be greedy. Take profit. It's just like you dollar cost average in, dollar cost average out.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I had to learn that the hard way. Just like you, watch my portfolio go up and then straight down.
Yeah.
And it's like, you got to take profits. You got to it never goes as high as people say it will. And it never goes as low as people said I can't talk, have said it will. So you have to do it. And even with stocks, like I took some profits on my Tesla stock, right before it started rolling over. And I'm glad I did. It was good and made some profits there. And then when it goes back low, I'll buy back in and I'm going to ride it back up.
Rinse and repeat. And the thing is, like, even though there's, bearish, maybe price action, like as far as the industry goes, like we're still seeing, we have so many bullish signs for, the coming years of like why price action can go back up. So even if you're not, if you miss that sell and you're kind of riding it back down and you're back to that dollar costing in, as long as you're in those solid projects that are building in the space and actually have utility, I think you're still going to do fine come, a year from now, 2 years.
For sure. All right, let's talk about some big news that occurred recently. Visa decided that they're going to expand their adoption of USDC onto the Solana blockchain as well as Ethereum. Pretty amazing. Obviously, Visa, one of the largest payment service providers in the world with the credit card and much more. What were your thoughts on this, man? This is pretty bullish in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, watching Visa, I actually do a lot of, or I started a lot of my trading and a lot of like research in the Algorand ecosystem. And so, obviously to see, just Visa expanding more and more through just different blockchains, different layers is huge because obviously they handle so much volume. And even that was one of the things when I first got in, like, okay, Visa can handle X amount of transactions, for the world, in payments and settlements and things like that. And these blockchains are supposed to do, possibly more. So like Visa obviously sees the potential of blockchain and sees where it's going. And they're like, that's where I'm just saying, like, you gotta be watching the space because they're getting their their tentacles, their arms in every pocket, nook and cranny they can. And it's huge, right? I mean, because, people use every time someone's swiping a card, it's Visa, right? So it's cool to see that. We saw the crypto.com and Coinbase when they had their Visa cards come out. I was doing it for a while where I would go and, swipe it at a store and you're earning crypto, right, in rewards back. But even they kind of shifted it from being where they were settling still with fiat, right? They were like kind of doing behind the scenes. It was not really settling on the chain, but now they're actually focusing more on settling it on chain. And that's why I think they're looking at stuff like Solana, cheaper, faster, networks that they can do those things on. So super bullish in my opinion. And even something that I found that, I don't know maybe how they do it behind the scenes, but Visa is also using Algorand through Agro Token, which is the company out of South America. They do grains, and you can actually like pay for stuff with your grain and stuff like that. And then also even one of the largest, at least daily transaction things, is called like the N1U app or something. It's partnered with Visa, and the CEO of Visa was just down there in South America at their headquarters and talking with them about payment settlement. So, they're making moves, right? They're going to be like, Visa is not going to get left behind with this adoption. And so, yeah, you have to be watching what they're doing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing, and I was thinking about it the other day because MasterCard had announced they were launching a CBDC program. It included like Ethereum, folks at Ripple, and obviously the XRP ledger. And then obviously you have the big banks doing their thing as well. JP Morgan is like, oh, we're going to launch a digital settlement token now, right? I think we're at the point where they can't ignore it, right? They may have laughed at us, right? As they say, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. I think we're coming out of the fight you phase, and now we're seeing some of the biggest brands, some of the largest TradFi companies, and folks you thought would never be involved in crypto are here, whether it be JP Morgan, Visa, MasterCard. It's pretty incredible. It's further validation that this tech is here to stay. It's disruptive, and if they don't adopt it, they're going to have their blockbuster moment, right? They got to get on board, and it's pretty incredible. And one of the things you mentioned, you highlighted Algorand, and it's something that I like to remind people, like, there's not going to be one blockchain to rule them all. Algorand, Solana, XRP Ledger, Ethereum, they're going to be used by different companies, and sometimes each of them could be used by the same company as well. It just depends on the use case, the market, the relationship. And I want folks to just realize what's happening. And you should also look at diversification, because I know some folks who went all in on one token. And look, it's a tricky thing, because sometimes people, get behind the communities, but you also have to step back and say, put my emotions to the side. Am I diversified? Am I in different projects just in case this one doesn't pan out or doesn't work out? Right.
And the thing is, most people coming into the space, like, when I came in, I feel like there's a lot of tribalism in the depths of this bear market, right? Because people are holding onto those bags so tightly that they just want to see, I when that news broke, I saw a lot of people on my, Twitter timeline saying, why is Visa not working more with Algorand, or why are they not working more with Cardano or this chain or that chain? And it's like, I feel like the next big wave of adoption that we might see in crypto, I don't think people are going to be as focused on, being chain maxis. I think people are, I think they're just going to, hopefully they're going to actually find cool like apps, right, or dApps and utilities for, what crypto is, but they're not going to be so set on like, oh, it's this token that has to make it, and it's only this one. Like, because like you said, like, the future is going to be cross-chain. It's going to be multi-chain, and that benefits everyone, because then you're able to, like, the cheaper transactions are and the cheaper it is for these big businesses to move money around, like, it's going to lift all boats up. Like, we're all going to rise as that network effect kind of takes hold. But yeah, I definitely think, it's bullish to see a giant like Visa, starting to branch out, because I would still love to see, from a fees perspective, how much they're actually making, and stuff like that, versus the traditional, way of doing business. Like, how much money do they save? How much more do they make in pertaining to like gas fees and settling those transactions and things like that? That would be kind of interesting to know, especially when you have some of these faster, cheaper, layer ones that are out there, what that will look like for Ethereum. And, as it starts to branch out to various, blockchains that are different.
Yeah, it's a great point. Like, and here's the thing, with Ethereum, it has first mover advantage. It has the security, but it doesn't have the scalability. And that's the challenging part. And I'm actually curious about that too, how that's going to play with all these layer twos. It's kind of crazy how many there are. But we'll have to wait and see. It's kind of like which search engine is going to win in the 90s, right? Lycos, Google,
right.
Yahoo,
Jeeves,
right?
you have, and that's the thing. It's like,
Yeah.
I've long thought that we're in this like super cycle of crypto where like, there is going to be the massive ride up and then, the crash, but the crash that I think is going to come is going to be one that actually consolidates. I don't want to say like wipes out projects, because you can see in the blockchain space, like, things can consolidate. Helium just, is building on, I think isn't it Solana? Didn't they move over to Solana? Or
I don't remember, honestly.
I want to say it's Solana that they moved over and started building on, but like, networks are going to consolidate, the money's going to consolidate into the winners, the ones that are, really, scalable, secure, ones that are robust from that standpoint. But I think that is, inevitably what's gonna come down the pipeline. We're gonna see, there will be winners, but it's not going to be one or two. But I do worry about Ethereum sometimes. I think the layer twos, I've tested a few of them here and there, Optimism, Arbitrum, Matic. The fees are still, for someone in America, maybe, who has decent money and is not worried about, paying $2, $3 fees. Maybe it's good, but there are a lot of places in the country where $2, $3, $5 fees, that's what, no one would even blink to even try to use that. So,
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. And that's where I feel like, the Hederas, the Ripple, the, Algorands, Cardanos, the faster chains, Near, there's so many of them. There's got to be a shaking out, but some of those have to get more utility, I think, as the future continues.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As you get past just like crypto community utility and people doing things, but like real world application, like to your point, in other countries, people are not going to want to pay those high fees. So we'll see how things plan out. So speaking of payments and stable coins, PayPal, just as we were talking about big names, said, hey, we're going to launch our own stable coin, which is pretty incredible. And there were a lot of people saying, oh, why do they need a stable coin? They already have the payment rails. And it's like, well, you don't understand what the future is going to be with stable coins and instant settlement, not just ACH messaging and all that jazz. What were your thoughts about that?
It's coming. Like, me and my wife, like, we don't use PayPal. I will say, like, I'm not a big user of PayPal. I've never really been that big, but nonetheless, we use, Square, we use Venmo. Like, we have a credit union. I've literally never even had a bank account, like an actual bank account. I've always been a part of credit unions and stuff, which I know is still a bank, but it's a little bit more community driven. Right. But the whole idea that like these players are going to come into the space, they want their own, share of the market, right? And so PayPal creating theirs, I think the market cap right now on theirs is 43 million. So obviously they're going to be trying to contend with the USDC, the USDT, the other big stable coins that are in the space. I do think, the one thing I feel like with, PayPal's stable coin that could be a good thing, and also there are some, trade-offs, is the ability for it to depeg, because this is one of the first, very heavily regulated stable coins from, the standpoint of like being backed 1-to-1 for the dollar. Like, will we actually ever see something like, PayPal USD depeg like we saw happen, in the past year with USDC? That had me worried, right? I mean, at that point of the market, I had a lot of money in USDC, and when I woke up and saw USDC had depegged to like 80 cents, I was sweating. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't think this could happen to it. I thought, oh, this is, that's something that's reserved for USDT and other riskier, Terra Luna and stuff like that. But I think that's a good thing, is that, maybe it'll afford that more safety net for bigger money to want to use it and stay and trade it and whatnot, and hold their assets there. But I do worry about the centralization aspects of it, with the freezing and the clawbacks. So that's another whole side of that one that has me kind of worried. CBDC type, stuff. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have the same thoughts as well. I am concerned about the centralization. But to your point, like I feel like they're not going to have the DPEG issue just because of their legacy, the way they're set up, they're regulated, and much more. And these stable coins are going to have to figure that out. If we have another bank run, and Circle was affected by that, what's going to happen, right? What if we know, like, it seems like bank runs and bank collapses are part of the economy now, because the way the system is set up, right? It started in 2008 and now it's continuing.
Yeah.
Will that be an issue another 4 years from now, right, when we have another crash? So that's something they're going to have to figure out, and the market is going to pick the winners and the losers here. But PayPal certainly has a strong war chest, and the ability to deploy the stablecoin and get a lot of people to use it. And they have the trusted brand, and they could certainly dominate the market very easily, but we'll see if they're able to get there. But it's certainly, bullish, and obviously they're building on Ethereum, which is interesting.
Yeah, like I said, it goes back. I really would like to see how these, Visa, PayPal, all these big companies that are using Ethereum, like how it ends up being profitable for them on the, at the end of the day. Because, yes, the current traditional banking system and the rails that people move money is expensive. It's slow, but so is Ethereum and Bitcoin. And I mean, some of the networks we have. I mean, I literally just saw this morning when I woke up the news that someone sent a Bitcoin transaction for like 0.0, I don't even know, like 2 Bitcoin, and paid like 20 Bitcoin or something crazy for it. Like,
crazy.
So that's the part of me that wonders, like, how are these, how are these big giant companies leveraging blockchain, but staying profitable with it, and actually, it being worth it, so other than just being hype to like say like, hey, we're on the blockchain, go buy ETH, like, are they just deep holders of ETH and Bitcoin and just like trying to pump the markets, or do they really see the beneficial of using these and as a true counter settlement service than what we have in traditional finance? Because when I was in the banking or credit union world, like, it is slow, right? Someone brings in a check, we're literally depositing money in their bank account, and we don't run those checks through the thing until the end of the day, and then they have to get sent to the clearinghouse. And so it's like, it's such a long and drawn out process. So like, we need this, we need these giants to come into the space and start adopting it, so that it can actually continue to grow and get to where we need it to be, which is, like you said earlier, instant settlements.
For sure. Let's talk about Grayscale kicking the SEC's butt. That was big news. I think a lot of people were expecting a Grayscale victory, but those judges, man, the three of them, they came out heavy-handed in their statements, which is great, exposing the hypocrisy, the nonsense that Gary Gensler and the SEC have been doing. Clear TradFi incumbent bias, right? They're trying to slow down these crypto startups, I think kill some of them as well. Because it's like, hey, we're going to block Grayscale, we're going to go after Coinbase, we're going to go after Ripple and so forth. But, Charles Schwab, Citadel, and these folks can launch a crypto exchange. BlackRock can file for a Bitcoin spot ETF, no problem. I was so happy to see this news, because it's another big loss for the corrupt Gary Gensler.
Yeah, right there, like the end of that, like, just get rid of Gary. Like, whatever makes him look worse and look bad, I'm all for. Like, because he is like, especially coming from someone who's been in Algorand, like there are so many people who I remember when I bought Algorand for the first time, and like I was in Miami at their event and meeting, Mayor Suarez, Michael Arrington, Anthony Scaramucci. I mean, there were so many big names, and then you also had this idea that even Gary Gensler, the head of the SEC, is saying you could build Uber on top of it. Like, there was a funny song made, like all that stuff, like it goes into it. And so to see him then come out and list Algorand as one of the securities, bash it, and then go after, and Ethereum, or not even really be able to give an idea of what Ethereum really is, in court hearings and stuff like that. I'm glad that these that Grayscale is winning that, and I think it's bullish. It's going to happen. Gary's time he's on a ticking time clock. It's running down, and yes, we may not see these ETFs approved now, but he can only delay it, right? And so the next deadline, I think, is like middle of October, like October 15th, October 17th is when, they will be able to revisit this. Maybe that's October, to an inflection point for Bitcoin's price, and the news gets approved there. If not there, we're looking at beginning of the third deadline's January 15th for most of these people, if it got pushed another 45 days. And then you had the final deadline right in March of 2024, which that could come very close to the Bitcoin halving. I mean, and imagine the bullish sentiment that all of that could cause, could kind of go together.
Yeah. Great points. And yeah, I think that the excuses, Gary's running out of excuses, right? He's lost the narrative. I think, before he can huff and puff and go before Congress and so forth, but now he's certainly lost the narrative with these losses he took with Ripple as well as Grayscale, and then the industry fighting back. I think that's important because it's grabbing the attention of many folks in DC. And there's actually 2 hearings coming up this month where Gary's going to testify. And I can't wait to see those, especially the House Financial Committee with Patrick McHenry and all those guys that grilled him last time.
Yep.
I'm going to have my popcorn ready.
I like watching that whole hearing last time. It's so funny because I don't know, maybe it's just my conspiracy side of me, but he's got some bags of ETH or, some crypto bags. He knows. And that's the thing. It's like they all know. It's almost like it's theater to an extent, to kind of delay this stuff and play with people's emotions, right? To make them want to sell, not hold these assets at a fear. But look at the list of people who are applying for these. I mean, you have, and even now you have even Ark Invest, which, Kathy Wood, her headquarters is now in St. Pete, which is like a 30-minute drive to me. Like her building is almost done, I'm pretty sure. But she's going to be a huge, wrecking ball to Gary Gensler's plan, just like BlackRock, just like all the other ones that are filing for it. Something that I wonder though, and you kind of interviewed someone, I think from Jacoby, the one who were in Europe where they had the spot Bitcoin ETF, actually live, right? So it's tradable. But I didn't realize that it had been approved for 2 years. So I would be interested to know, what are your thoughts on say we get to the second deadline, which is in October, and we see a Bitcoin spot ETF approved, right? Say it's BlackRock, say it's Kathy Wood, Ark Invest, whoever it is, one of these big giants. I assume it's going to be BlackRock, but let's say it gets approved, and how long until we actually see it listed, right?
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. And I was mentioning that in a podcast recently, that if you look at the gold ETF approval, when that happened, the price didn't skyrocket overnight. It took some time because, like you said, you got to lay the pipeline, right? You got to market it. But the great thing is you have the world's wealthiest asset manager here, BlackRock, and then, Kathy Wood's Ark Invest. These are big brands in the investment space, and they have the customer base, they have the capital, the assets under management, so they could easily port a lot of their clients' funds over to the ETF, and it will be easy for them to market it. So I think there might be a buy the rumor, sell the news event at the approval, but then come next year as they start marketing it and everything's up and running, as we go into the bull market. It's going to be pretty nice, where I think this is going to help, drive the price of Bitcoin to new all-time highs. And I'm excited for that. But I think just be prepared, folks, that we may see the approval and then everybody's expecting, oh, crap, we're going to pump to 100K tomorrow.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
See, but that's the thing. And that's where you really have to get your, you got to have that thesis of what you're doing with when you buy, if you're buying now, right? If you're buying the dip or you're buying as assets are going down, like when that news comes out and that price, or even if it's the hint that the news, like, right, like leading up to October 15th, if like we're starting to get news that like, oh, it's going to get approved, and you're seeing that price of Bitcoin fly up, that's a good time to take some profit, leave some in there just in case it runs more, but you got to stay objective there, because that's how greed gets you, is you get caught in the narrative. Then you start, then you go on social media and you see the YouTubers, BitBoy Crypto, or who, the pump and dump ones that are, saying the massive articles, Bitcoin to 500K, now that it's approved or something like that.
Yeah.
You gotta watch out for that. But, I definitely think it's coming. What are you thinking on, do you think we'll get an ETF for Bitcoin or Ethereum first though?
Oh, so great point. Because just this past week, Kathy Wood and a bunch of other folks filed for Ethereum spot ETFs, which was, the timing was interesting. It seems like they're anticipating the Bitcoin ETF approvals around the corner. Like you said, October. And that, getting in first in line for that ETH ETF, which we know will eventually come, is probably smart. But I think definitely it has to be Bitcoin. I don't think, because there's still a lot of uncertainty around Ethereum, because like we were talking about before, clearly Gary was asked, is Ethereum a security? Blah, blah, blah. Like he doesn't know what to say, right? So there's still an issue there. And I don't know if they want to go after Ethereum. Probably not, just given the Bill Hinman situation and all that took place with Jay Clayton. But I think they're going to go with Bitcoin. I think that they have to go with that. It's usually Bitcoin is like the king, the leader in the market from a marketing and capital standpoint. But I keep reminding people, like, unfortunately, that's how the market is structured. The more capital goes into Bitcoin, the more that flows into the altcoins.
Yep.
And so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I definitely think if I was, obviously, I'm not placing my bets on like when it's going to get approved, but I feel like we will see a Bitcoin spot ETF approved. I'm still thinking though 2024. I know some people really think in 2023. I think maybe we get a lot of hints that it could, get approved, at the October one, but I feel like there's still something up the SEC sleeve. I think they're still going to be able to delay it. I think they're going to try everything they can to delay it. But I think, like I said, this could be a great opportunity to add, to those, assets that will benefit, on the other side of the, Bitcoin spot ETF getting approved, like I said. But then once that one gets approved, I think you're just going to see a cascade effect of, the other ones getting approved, like, ETH. And then, from there, your Bitcoin halvening, like there's so many things, new president, could be very bullish on crypto to get elected. Like there could be so much happening next year that could really push the price of Bitcoin up, which, like you said, after Bitcoin does that, then the money flows into alts, and you could see, the true altcoin season. I think many were hoping for, this past 4 months, but we, some assets got it, but most assets have still been beaten down and are seeing an all-time lows.
Yeah. And to your point, like eventually we'll get altcoin ETFs, like basket spot ETFs or specific ones, it could be Algorand, HBAR, XRP, whatever it is. So yeah, I'm excited for this next bull market. I think it's going to be pretty incredible given all the big names that are here, and further legitimizing crypto to the masses, right? And the brands that they know, Fidelity, BlackRock, and Visa.
That's why like I'm fine with, the market. I would be fine if the market for the next 8 months just did sideways and down. Like I know some people, especially in the Algorand community, like Algorand's at 9 cents. So like I know that it would not do well for a lot of people there. They're probably not hoping that, but like to me, it's like it gives me the opportunity to buy some of these solid things, because the longer it stays suppressed and the more like infrastructure that gets built on these chains, like with these big partners like Visa and PayPal, hopefully you see other ones like Square and Venmo and stuff like that, just getting their hands in. It's just going to make that bull run even more like bullish, and even like for it to really pop, because you're not going to have all this like, oh, what could be if these giants jump in. You're already going to have them there. The infrastructure is going to be laid. And then you have the giants like BlackRock, Fidelity, Ark and you have all the big players there to say, hey, this is the new way forward, and we're blazing a new trail. Either jump on the train or get left behind. And I see that as being one of the catalysts for why crypto just takes off, to like the stratosphere.
Oh yeah, yeah. I feel like we've crossed the chasm of like institutions, this being taboo for institutions, and we can't touch it, we can't talk about it, and now it's just like, yeah, everybody's just out in the open. So it's just a really different dynamic, which is incredibly bullish. Now, one topic I know you've been following, and as Vitalik's wallet got hacked for $691,000, which is pretty crazy. I saw some of it, the news about it, but I didn't get to go into the full details. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, and this is just like the reason why I wanted to say something about it is because you would think that, right, we're following these big accounts on Twitter or these big people in the space, say like a Michael Saylor or, whoever it is that is your Gavin Wood or Silvio Macaulay or, your career, Charles Hoskinson's. You think you see these people and you think that like anything they post or anything they do is just like, oh my gosh, like, it's the next big thing. I got to jump on it. Like, but you still have to remember Web3 is like, security. Like your assets are so vulnerable when you connect your wallet to something, and to see, obviously Vitalik's Twitter account get hacked, and that led to them posting some malicious, link on his Twitter saying like, hey, come here to claim this free NFT because we're blazing a trail with, I think it was sharding or some type of, Ethereum roll up. And a lot of people jumped on that and got, their liquidity and out of their wallets pulled. And that's an account like, you're following Vitalik. You feel trusted and you feel like you should be able to trust him, but like always double verify. And like, I rarely ever connect my wallet to something unless I really, really trust the application that I'm doing it to. But yeah, it just goes to show, he's not even really said anything about it. His father came out and apparently is the one who said like, hey, lost his Twitter, don't click on that link and whatnot. But obviously the effects are already being felt. And I feel like in the midst of this bear market, like I got rugged once, and it was the most sickening feeling. And it happened like 3 months ago. I actually, I bought some stacks, which was the layer 2 token on Bitcoin. And I created one of the wallets, and it was a malicious publisher where I downloaded it, didn't realize it, and sent the stacks to it, and then a week went by, like, or maybe 2 weeks went back and checked, all of it gone. So like I know the feeling of losing crypto like that and it being wiped out, and it sucks, especially if you're someone who's probably been buying a lot during the past like year. So you really have to just stay focused on being vigilant, like not falling for any of these scams, not falling for any of these pump and dumps, and just like stay true to just like staying focused, I guess, on like what's real, and like don't connect your wallet, because obviously if Vitalik can get hacked, you can get hacked.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, man. And I often like double check all my security layers, like to my hardware wallets and my browser extensions and emails. And I've even gone to the extent of I have a separate phone that I use where that has the authenticator codes and everything that stays in a safe, right? And my email also has the 2-factor authentication, IP whitelisting. Just do as much as you can, and like you said, David, do your due diligence. If it's Saylor, whoever the hell is tweeting, just what am I clicking on? What am I looking at here? Is this legit? Because social media is still a bit of the Wild West. Sometimes people can get hacked. And on crypto Twitter specifically, oh my God, the bots and all these things. I'm like, Elon, do something, man. Like,
well, see, it seems like he did something, which was, I thought I saw somewhere that said like, blocking, or he was going to take away the ability to block people, or that if you were blocking people, like that's going to affect, your algorithm in some ways and your posts being seen and stuff. So like, it's weird that like, I feel like the last like 4 weeks on, certain platforms, I've seen more bots than ever before, even for our channel. Like we get emails constantly from, so-called, financial asset managers or people that work with like Gate.io or exchanges or big projects. But there's always a link, right? There's always something that they want you to click, they want you to do, that will ultimately end up, giving them access, and then boom, you're back to square one. And that's something you don't want to have right now, because I know that can like really, kick a lot of people while they're down. Maybe make them not even want to invest and like buy crypto and really be a part of it anymore. And then you'll be part of the FOMOing crowd, when it's back to all-time highs. So stay safe. Like, don't click on any links, and, to some extent, stay away from Twitter during the bear market.
And then there's some other news here. This is the last item we can touch on. FTX possible liquidation of assets starting on September 13th. It looks like it'll be Sol, FTT, and BTC. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of, obviously Solana, maybe because of, some of the FUD that got thrown out there. A lot of people saw that and were like, oh no, I want to get ahead of it. So Solana already took a little bit of an early dip in price. But I don't think it's hinted that they could release it, on September 13th, and then could be like 2 million worth of crypto every week. But this is one of those things where, it's news, and obviously it's kind of like FTX back from the grave. Like, geez, like we already got raked over the coals by FTX and SBF once. It's like, why can't this thing just go away?
Right.
But they have a lot of tokens, and if I don't know what they're going to be doing if they are liquidating them. I don't know if they're like meant to be paying back users or what the whole plan is there. But they definitely, it showed that, or at least from the tweets I saw, it showed that they had a lot, like 685 million of Solana, 268 million worth of Bitcoin. And there's even there's ETH, Doge, Matic, XRP, like there's a lot of them that are out there. But this could just be, we had the US government saying they were going to be dumping Bitcoin, right? So it's just more FUD to make people feel like, oh, I need to sell, when maybe not. Maybe you hold. I don't know. Obviously, not going to give financial advice there. But it kind of sucks that it's coming right along in September, which is, like we kind of talked about at the start of the show, one of the worst months for Bitcoin price action and obviously altcoins. So it just seems like it's kind of adding fuel to the fire that this might not be the best month for selling to take profit, but could be some great opportunities to buy the dip if we do see some of these things fall lower. I know there's a few I have my eyes on that I'm watching for some certain levels, and once those levels get hit, I'm going to be jumping in to scoop some.
Yeah, and to your point, like the timing, right? Sometimes I think we talked about it when I was on your show. Short sellers put out narratives. They'll just on speculation. Oh, FTX is going to dump all these tokens, get people to sell. You're right, because they have their shorts in, they make money off of that. But even if there is some selling, typically we've seen people, and it may not be smart to just dump on the market, but do it in increments. They might start and do small batches, so that the market's not tanking entirely. Because if you still have to take profits, or they have to sell to liquidate at some point, it's probably not smart to do it that way, kind of like the US government, selling news and things like that. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. Hopefully nothing too crazy, man.
Yeah. I think, and looking at the Bitcoin chart, obviously we've had this mini, rally in the bear market. I think everybody's fear is like, oh no, what if the rest of this month is just like Bitcoin doing like ladder steps down, right? Back to those lows and like possibly, new all-time lows and stuff like that. So, that's the fear, that's the FUD that's going to be put out there, like you said, by the short sellers, by the people who would benefit by you selling. And then obviously they're going to, what they're doing is buying the fear. So they're going to buy it at the bottom and then ride it back up. I think it just, you have to come back to what's your thesis, what's your, plan, exit strategy, buying strategy, just implement it, and that's where there's tons of people out here who have solid strategies. Find somebody that knows how to make money. I've met many people. I mean, especially I live right here on the beach. I meet so many people who trade crypto and like, they're here on vacation. They'll show me like what books they've done, what websites they use to trade and make a lot more money than I do trading. But, you can definitely make it. You just got to be willing to kind of pull yourself out of the FUD narrative or the greed narrative that when it gets spun.
No, it's great points. And it's like putting the emotions to the side, right? Because if you're operating by emotions, price goes up, I'm happy, price goes down, I'm sad. And if that is the foundation to your trades and your investing, you're going to get wrecked. Like you're done for. But you set it aside. You obviously got to educate yourself about the market cycles and not panic, right? I think once you get past that phase, and look, I had to get past that phase. When I first got in the market, I was the roller coaster of emotions too. Like, oh shit, what's happening here? Then I was like, wait a minute, calm down. And it's kind of what I alluded to earlier. I have my long-term bags. I'm not touching that. That is not for trading. I take some capital. I like the market's down now. Take a position. It goes up 10, 15, 20%, profits. And then rinse and repeat. And then also, if it doesn't go the direction, let's say, we're anticipating it's going to go back up, swing trade. Let's say it keeps going lower and it gets stuck there for a while. Don't panic, right? And this is why you don't put your life saving. You just leave it. I step away and I leave it. And then, because I know the market's going to go back up eventually. So folks got to have that long-term outlook and leave the emotions. Don't panic. Don't move by your emotions. Just move by the market cycles.
Yeah. And it is easier said than done. Obviously, I feel like that's just something you have to learn, that like you got to get bit, you got to hold, you got to buy a token low, you got to make a crap ton of money, not sell it, write it all the way back down to kind of teach your brain like, okay, what did I learn from like that entire market cycle, and like how could I get better? And that's why I feel like it's, if you can dollar cost average in, you can dollar cost average out. You just got to actually, and Mark Yesko, he's a guest we're actually going to have on our show in the coming weeks. And something that he told us that really stuck with me was that women are actually better. Like, so if you're married, right, and you have a spouse, allow them to help you make decisions on selling and buying, especially because like my wife is, she's does hair, like she knows about crypto, obviously, because I talk about it so much, but like she's not in it like me. So she doesn't have that emotional attachment to the coin. So sometimes I'll tell her like, hey, I'm up this much. And she'll literally be like, sell it right now. And I've literally done that before. And then literally like the next day or the day after, boom, price was down 40, 50%. And I was like, holy cow. And Mark Yesko kind of said, it's because men, like we're a hunter gatherer. I don't remember exactly how he worded it, but he's like, a man can go to the fridge and can look for, like, say that he's looking for the ketchup, and like he was like, I don't see it, it's not here. And his wife be like, it's literally right there. She'll come and point it out. And because it's not moving, he couldn't see it. We're just built to chase things that are moving and moving fast. So like we just get caught in the thrill of the hunt. And whereas like a woman can really be practical and just be like, no, you need to sell that. So use your better half to all the men out there that are married when doing trading. It works.
Great advice, man. I have not heard that one. Maybe I'll try it. I'll see with my wife.
Hey, it's a different perspective, because there's so often, because even when we have those conversations, I'm sitting there telling her all the reasons why it could go up, and then I start to hear myself like I'm getting caught in the bolt or the greed, thought process. Like I'm trying to formulate opinions and things that are a thesis that's going to go along with why it shouldn't stop here. It should go, 20% higher, 30% higher. And she's like, but you have, this amount of profit. Why not just take some? And I'm like, you're right. Why shouldn't I take some? So, it's a good yin and yang.
For sure. All right, David, good stuff, man. Thanks for taking the time to do this. The first show on the books here. Everybody, be sure to check out David's YouTube channel, The Next Block. Links will be in the description. Thanks, David. We'll chat with you maybe in another couple of weeks.
Yeah, it was, great. Thanks for having me on the show. Look forward to the next one. And yeah, be sure to follow The Next Block. We got some good guests coming up, in the coming weeks. Stacey Warden from the Algorand Foundation. We have Mark Yesko, Anthony Scaramucci. I'm trying to get some other big ones like Michael Arrington from the, I want to get his thoughts on some of the XRP stuff. So, definitely going to have some great guests coming. So, thanks so much for having me on.